My apologies about how long it has been since the last video. Unfortunately, as you can see, I've got a different pair of glasses now from the previous video. I was on my way in from the feeding my cats and took a nice fall, broke my glasses, split my nose open, finally got all that taken care of, stuff going on with work. My son dropped my phone, broke it, a couple of other things going on, so it's taken some time to get the cameras back, the glasses to where I can see again, most of the way at least. So I may be stumbling over a few words more than normal because I just don't have the same vision right now until I get some new glasses. But I'm working on that. Some also changes. It's a new school year. Some of my students have been giving me artwork, and so I've been putting that up, kind of just encouraging them and trying to get them to understand that teachers care about them, that somebody cares about them, and get them to open up to learning. So you'll see some different artwork going on. But all that said, trying to get back to recording some of these lessons that I've been doing in the meantime of where we haven't had videos. I have been looking in the book of Revelation recently, working with my men's class, and I have to go back and do chapter 1 again, so those videos will be coming later. Just the notes from chapter 1 have been partially misplaced. I've got the first notes and the last notes, and somehow managed to misplace my file that has my notes on the middle of chapter 1. So once those get redone, I'll get that up. But we are in Revelations chapter 2, and I will finish up the progressive Christianity. Unfortunately, those notes are elsewhere, and I have to find which jump drive I put those on. So Revelations chapter 2, and this is going to be a very lengthy thing. The men at my church, I asked them, what would you like to go through next? And my pastor said, why don't you do Revelations? And he was kind of joking, but I love the book of Revelations. And I said, okay. So, in the first chapter of Revelation, we'll have established quite a bit that we'll be looking at. We'll look at how the book is a transcription by John of what the Lord Jesus Christ told him. That John played the role of what would now be called a court stenographer, creating the official transcription as a legal testimony. That by studying this and taking it to heart, we are in an envied position. There is a short message to the 7 churches of Asia, which will call them to focus on Christ's return. That also calls attention to his position of being most important. That we are one of God's kingdoms on earth, that we are to serve him as priests, along with that, what that entails, to a little bit, to a small part. That John was placed on a mining island of exiled criminals for spreading the word. We will see why he is where he is when all this is going on. We'll see that John is a fellow partaker with those to whom this is written as well, which is we'll be doing a second small little thing when I can get that uploaded on what does it mean to be a fellow partaker. And that this book is a first-hand account because John was spiritually made aware of the day of the Lord, which is the day that the Lord returns, and we will get a description of the splendor and authority of Christ. Now, before we begin looking at chapter 2 and the message of the 7 churches, let's just see a few things that I found. First, a quick overview of what fellowship is without actually getting into that particular lesson. Fellowship is defined as an association of persons having similar tastes, interests, beliefs, etc., properly a participant who mutually belongs and shares fellowship. So did John belong to all 7 of these churches? The answer would be no. So this is an example that fellowship between churches is expected, not just fellowship within your membership church. We talked about not forsaking assembling together, and that is to the individual church, but it is also that we come together and help one another between the churches. In fact, we'll see that some of these churches are out of fellowship. So when he talks about the fellowship that he is in, that is partially showing us that this is not just to those 7 churches. The information in this book is for everybody. Even though this is to 7 specific churches, at the end it says, "Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches." Now the last word of that sentence is churches. It is plural. This also stresses that what was written to each of these 7 churches is pertinent to us as well. They were to know what was written to each other. They have personal issues, but those personal issues are ones that apply to everyone. And in each of the 7 letters, it will reiterate that the author is Christ himself, and it'll give some more aspects of Christ. Each letter will also point out that Christ is the solution to whatever is wrong. Each letter points out the omniscience of Christ. Each church is also cited for their location specifically, because oftentimes, and even today, we see that culture becomes an influence over the church instead of the church being an influence over the culture. So, starting with the next video, let's start looking at these churches with the church of Ephesus.